All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Compassionate Leaders series. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Caroline Lee Dewey, for those of you who don't know me, and I am bringing Nicole Sachs on with me today. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Hi. So Nicole is a speaker, writer, podcaster, and psychotherapist. And I am extremely excited about this particular interview because Nicole has been not only a good friend to me over the past handful of years, but also a very close colleague and mentor of mine. And I have been just really enjoying being part of her movement, which is the cure for chronic pain. And so I, I'm, there's so much that I want to say about you, Nicole, and introducing you and everything, but I'm just so excited to have you here. I was thinking about it last night and how so many times you have had the chance to bring me on stage with you in
Yeah.
many different forms. And this is actually the first time that I've gotten to bring you on stage with me, so to speak. So I'm feeling really honored and excited about that. But so I'll just first and foremost, my favorite question to ask people is what really lights you up and what are you most passionate about these days?
Well, I'd say what really lights me up is watching other people light up. And I really mean that. I think that the work that I teach requires people to step out of their comfort zone. It requires them to embrace possibilities that perhaps they didn't see before. I receive a lot of DMs and emails and, so any way someone can contact me, comments in my social media that say things like, oh my God, I'm kind of maybe thinking that this could save my life. And I'm always like, yay, because I know true readiness is everything. And I know that it's not always easy to step outside of what you've learned your entire life about what it means to suffer in one's body versus what it means to suffer in one's heart, and how we're so taught that those are completely separate things, and to understand that there is a mind-body connection that is fueled by brain science that allows us to rewire the way that our emotional world and our physical world intersect. Watching people light up to that is what lights me up.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. And it is, I mean, it is such an amazing experience when you see people first discovering this work because it's so unknown,
Yeah.
it's such new ground for people in a really earth-shattering kind of way. So that's really cool. So, can you tell me a little of your story of how you came to be doing this work?
Yes. So when I was 19, I was diagnosed with acute degenerative spondylolisthesis, which is a diagnosis that involves a degeneration of the lower spine. And the reason I got that diagnosis is I was in terrible, mind numbing, life stopping back pain that required I be removed from college my freshman year and brought home to have tons of tests. And so I come by it honestly. I come by it out of sheer desperation and fear for my own life and my own future that led me to discover mind body medicine. And when I discovered it, there's a spiritual aspect to my journey in that I didn't resist it. And I know a lot of people do. And there's not a right or wrong way to come into this work. But for whatever reason, I did not resist it. In fact, I saw it as a wellspring. I wanted to drink it in. I wanted to learn everything about it. And so I really immersed myself. And as I went through the journey, which is not a straight line, it went up and down. I had periods of true euphoric recovery, and then periods of deep darkness, which that is the only way that life will ever go, in case you're wondering. and and I really came to deeply understand the connection between the mind and the body, and how it is within our power to awaken that connection and to lead to healing. And I've made a life and a career out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, for me, such a really powerful piece of the puzzle too, for people coming into this work and seeing, that you're not just some doctor or some psychotherapist who has done all the research and whatnot to learn about this stuff, but that, like you said, you really do come by it honestly. And that certainly is my experience as well in talking to people when they get in those scary, kind of places of like, is this for real? Could this really help me? Is this going to work? And I get to share more of my story with them too, of how like this absolutely has saved so many lives, including my own and Nicole's, and so many of us who are at the forefront of the movement. So really, really wonderful being able to come at it from that place, for sure. So can you tell us a little bit more like about the movement, the Cure for Chronic Pain? I mean, what is there within this space for people?
Yes. So essentially, I like to help people understand my work by saying there are three facets of the work: believe, do the work, and patience and kindness for yourself. All three of them are very concrete. This is not hippy dippy therapy talk. It is true partnering with yourself, understanding, and then allowing the brain science to work to heal you. So, underneath those three umbrellas, believe, do the work, and patience and kindness for yourself, I offer tons of ways to interact with all of them. In terms of believe, you have to understand what's going on here. You need to understand the science, and you need to understand why this can work for you in order for it to work for you. And this is not like a Tinkerbell situation. This is literally your nervous system will not be able to let go of its defensive posture until you believe in sort of a very deep and conscious way that this is the path to freedom. It's simple. Our nervous system is designed to protect us. And if it asked your opinion every time it decided to protect you, I promise you would be dead, whomever you are, because you wouldn't be able to react quickly enough. And I actually was just talking about this, and I speak so often publicly, actually I don't remember where I said it, but that I was in London. Did I say this with you on our podcast? I don't know. I was in London many years ago, and I was standing in the middle of the city on a curb, and I looked to my left to see if any traffic was coming, and it wasn't. So I stepped out into the street, and within however many tenths of a second, I found myself back on the curb, and a double-decker bus going about 50 miles per hour came whizzing. I felt it in front of my nose. I 100% would be dead. Now, why am I not? Because there was a reaction that was so quick and so automatic and so reflexive in my brain and my nervous system that jumped me back on the curb before I even consciously knew there was danger. And it saved my life. And what's happening with people who are suffering is the exact same thing. Your brain and your nervous system perceive your repressed emotional world to be a greater predator than your physical pain or affliction, and it chooses the pain. And it is not asking your permission. It is not asking for you to, say, oh, no, I get it. I can feel my feelings. I don't need the migraine. It's not asking because it doesn't trust you until it understands it can trust you. And that's what believe is. And there's so many things that I offer, and Caroline is just a big part of my team, helping people to believe and then teaching them how to do the work, which is allowing these repressed emotions gently and safely to rise, allowing them to be conscious when they were previously unconscious. And then the nervous system says, oh, it's safe here. The pain starts to recede. The fight or flight starts to move to rest and repair. The anxiety starts to go down. And all the while, if you're capable, which everyone is, of practicing patience and kindness for yourself, even though it is so hard, and being able to know that each day you have a chance to wake up and do the best you can do, and it's not always going to be perfect, and you're going to be threatened by your perfectionism and your inner critic, and you're going to have to say, I hear you, I love you, thanks for sharing, but I can do this. All those three pieces together and all the things that lead to them help to have a life free from chronic conditions.
Yeah. So cool. And I mean, I love how much there is out there. So I always like to think of it as no matter how you best learn, whether it's audio, visual, or like in person or at a distance, whatever it is, there are just so many different resources for people to learn, those pieces and parts and take deeper dives in a lot of ways too.
Yes.
And one of the coolest things that most people are so excited about right now is the podcast, which I would love for you to talk a little bit about too, of just like what goes on there, what's the kind of theme and structure of your podcast.
I dreamed of having a podcast for a while and I was just too scared to do it. And finally, it's been almost 2 years. I don't know exactly. I'm on episode 110, I think. Yeah, so it's been 2 years. Wow. Because I've never missed a week. I have a structure where every other week I do a personal lesson where I just come on my own and I teach a portion of this work. And every other week I have a guest who's either an expert, a success story, or something called Real Time Heal, where I have an unscripted, unplanned for therapy session right on the podcast where someone volunteers their heart and their time, and it's incredible and moving and beyond. And ironically, not ironically, today, the one that dropped, I'm interviewing Caroline, an expert in this field, someone who's trained with me for years and brings her own expertise and connection and training to make it her own. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to bring information. It's obviously totally free to listen to a podcast, available anywhere you get your podcast. And I really use it as a mechanism to bring information, understanding, and compassion out into the world.
Yeah, amazing. And the best way for people to find that is to search the Cure for Chronic Pain.
Yeah, it's called the Cure for Chronic
under your name or.
Yeah, if you search my name, Nicole Sachs, SACHS, or if you search the Cure for Chronic Pain, it will come up. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts, it'll be available.
Cool. So beyond that, like obviously you kind of mentioned a handful of the different resources that are out there now in passing, but what would you recommend for anyone who is really struggling right now or who is curious about this work and wants like step one for learning, getting engaged, and then doing the work for themselves?
Yeah, great question. So step one is definitely you have to know what we're talking about. So I would go to my YouTube channel. It's called The Cure for Chronic Pain. Simple. All the things are pretty much labeled as my brand. And there is a Healing Yourself series that I created several years ago, parts 1 through 4. It's 4 videos. They're about 10, 15 minutes each, totally free. Watch them. It will go through my story. It will go through a little bit of what we're talking about here and just help you understand what the hell is going on here. What exactly is this even? Once you're done with those, what I would do is just marinate in the information, listen to the podcast. I have an online community called JOURNALSPEAK with Nicole Sachs, LCSW on Facebook. Click to request to join it. It's a private group, so you'll need to be admitted to the group, but I mean, you'll be admitted. It's an incredibly supportive online community. People there are answering each other's questions all the time. I'm there, Caroline is there, other of my instructors are there helping people out. And so there's that. So far, nothing I just said costs you any money. If indeed you want to invest a little, I do have an online course called Freedom from Chronic Pain, also available on my website, thecureforchronicpain.com, where you can, I can basically handhold you through the whole process. But it is important, I believe, don't buy the course until you've done a little bit, at least watch the Healing Yourself 1 through 4 series, because I think it's like, you need to buy into this. Your nervous system is desperate for your input, and your nervous system is looking to your conscious thoughts to say, what are we doing here? Is this safe? Is it not? When you start to understand the process by which you're going to heal, the nervous system just takes just a tiny bit of a chill, enough to open the door to let you do the serious work, which is what you'd get in the course.
Yeah, that's great. And I agree. And I say the same thing to people who come to me when they've just, like a lot of people come to meet with me when they've just heard about the work. And I'm always like, kind of like, well, you probably want to journal a little, like spend a couple of weeks learning about this stuff before you dive in with me or like the course, because it takes that buy-in for sure.
Yeah.
You don't want to overwhelm the system and think you're just throwing another solution at it the way we otherwise do sometimes. So I know you also have something kind of special that just came out now on anxiety. And I really wanted to ask about that too, because that's been something I know has come up in the community a lot, where for one thing, we hear about chronic pain and, chronic conditions, and we think about physical things mostly. And so there's always a lot of question, I think, coming up around, like, does chronic anxiety count? Does depression count? And then also for some people who have done the work on physical stuff, they often like shift into a bit of
Yes.
anxiety and things. So can you talk a little about your anxiety course and all that?
Yes, so it just dropped this weekend. So it's been a great deal of effort in the making. So I'm very excited about it. It just went on sale for the first time on Black Friday. So we're sitting here exactly a week ago today. Yes. Okay. So what people often don't understand, and it's not their fault because we're not taught it. I wasn't taught it growing up, is that sometimes we feel things in our hearts and sometimes we feel things in our bodies, and they are literally interchangeable. I can feel heartbreak in my stomach. I can feel stress over my children in my anxiety, in my throat, in my head. I mean, there is no line. It is a beautiful dance. And when you see it as beautiful and when you understand the dance, it's empowering. It's not disempowering. So anxiety and pain and symptoms it's like a flowing river that's flowing within, back and forth in itself. The reason I wrote a course specific to anxiety is a very specific experience. It's an experience of the mind. It is an experience of the conscious, perseverating, ruminating brain, but it's also an experience of the physical body, of the stomach issues, of the tightness and pain in the chest, of the tightness and dryness of the mouth and throat, the burning of the mouth, so many physical dizziness, vertigo. There's so many physical manifestations of anxiety that are so specific. And I knew that just lumping anxiety into pain, it wasn't doing anxiety the service that it deserves because so many people suffer. So I wrote a course called Freedom from an Anxious Life. I'm very proud of it. It brings you through real understanding of what anxiety is, what is actually happening in your body and why. You start feeling more tender toward yourself and your anxiety rather than so defensive, just like, oh, I see, it makes so much sense what's going on here, and then tells you exactly what to do in moments of panic, in moments of stress, in moments of physical manifestation, in order to move yourself from fight or flight to rest and repair, and to really change the way you respond to your life, which transforms your relationships, your job, your parenting, your connections, everything.
Yeah, your whole life.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing all of this. I really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to us getting together and coming back for a bit of a deeper dive into, we'll have to choose one, I guess, like subject at a time to,
Anything's good for me.
yeah, to chat about. But so I really appreciate you being here. And is there anything else that you want to just say to the people or share before we sign off for today?
I guess the one thing I'll say, and I say it a lot, which is like, this is your life. This is your life. Depending on your spiritual leanings, you might think we come back again and again and again, which I do, but it doesn't really matter. This one right here, this is the one you get to be Nicole, to be this person with these kids and these relationships and this job. That's the only time I'm going to be this. And it's important and it's precious and it's worth it. And it's worthwhile to press your pause button and to open your mind and to say, what might be available to me if I'm a little less rigid in the way that I think, if I can open myself to possibilities, if I can invite in my willingness. It's your life. And the life you save when you do this is your own. So I just invite people to give themselves the gift of being curious and to see how much richer and fuller and bigger and different their life could be.
Oh, thank you so much. What a powerful message, for sure. I know I certainly have appreciated having you here today, and looking forward already to having you back. And yeah, so I guess everybody's got the information where to find you. And so anyone who wants to share this too, please feel free. If you know somebody else who would benefit from seeing this interview or connecting with Nicole and her work, please feel free to share. And until next time, just take care of yourselves and have a great day.